everyone, welcome to the new video. So today we will talk about prod deployment, sharing my experience that how prod deployment happens because this is where many people lack the hands-on experience and today I'm sharing mine. For the prod deployment, first and the foremost important thing is release planning and scheduling. So every production deployment starts with a fixed release date and the time. And there should be no ongoing incident and issues on that environment, prod environment. Infrastructure means that whatever infrastructure on which we are going to do the deployment, that should be already created. Okay? Or we should have a script if we are going to create, and that should be a tested script, or it is better if we create it first. And the release planning and scheduling is basically aligned with that when uh, business impact, low traffic windows, and team availability. Okay, then the next important thing is before this release date and time arrives, we have to do the application fully. We have to test that application is deployed in dev, QAT, UAT. So dev is the development testing, QAT is a quality assurance testing, and UAT is a user acceptance testing. So that should be already done. Now the other thing is change request approval. So already whatever the now when we have a release date and time and we have the approval on email with all the stakeholders, then we should create a change request already, because for the prod deployment we never create a CR or change request just 1 or 2 days before. It should be proper time that it should be approved, created, reviewed. So change request is already created. Okay, then rollback planning. So rollback, if you don't have proper rollback steps, you are not prepared for the prod deployment. So you should always have clear rollback steps, that if something is not working, if something breaks during prod deployment, how we are able to revert to the previous version quickly, which will minimize our downtime. Then we have the right people and access. So ensure all required teams that are available and that are required for the deployment, like the DevOps team, the development team, the support team, and they should have the proper access. People having the proper access on prod, because not everybody will get the access, so they should be involved. Okay, and there should be defined responsibilities, that if the issue, what will be handled by which team. Then a CI/CD pipeline that we will use for the deployment, it should be consistent, because the same pipeline we will use for all the environments. Key principle is that we are not going to run CI again for the prod during the deployment time. The idea is that only the CD part, the deployment part, we will run during the deployment. You understanding my point? We already have the Docker image or the jar that we are going to deploy. Already we have it, and we have deployed same thing in dev, QAT, and UAT. Once that jar or image is tested and we are fully sure that now this image can be used in prod, we will use the same jar and image, and during the deployment we will make sure that only the CD part we have to run. So we'll make our things as minimal as possible. Only the CD part we will have to run at that time, and we don't have to run the CI again. We will not create the Docker image again, because we know the image which is working properly in dev, QAT, and UAT, we'll use the same. The only thing that we need to do is that the image which was present for dev, so we are storing it under Artifactory or any Nexus or wherever we are storing it in ACR, ECR, it should be available for prod also. The location should be available for prod also. So the image should be present for the prod environment to be accessible to. So location is very important. So promotion comes that we are promoting the same image or jar to prod, because the repositories for keeping the image are defined according to the environment. So that image should be present for prod also. So the promotion comes into picture. Okay, so that we need to do. Now we see CI versus CD in production. That already I have explained, but CI is already completed before the deployment, so that in the time that we have got for the for the deployment, we are not wasting our time. Okay, only the CD is triggered during the deployment. That is that our deployment, whatever deployment script we will run through the pipeline, and that deployment script, if we are using helm command or if we are using kubectl command, that will get triggered and will do the deployment using the image that we have already tested. So you're getting my point. Now also we need to make sure that, see, we always there are scans, there are quality gates that are enabled. So production deployment will not be happening, your pipeline will not be proceeding unless and until these scans, these gates are passed. And these gates are set by the organization, that our image which is not vulnerable, which is like which doesn't have any vulnerability, those checks. If it has p1 vulnerability, it won't go for that, we cannot deploy that image. So we should make ensure that whatever image we are deploying or whatever code that we are using, the code coverage scan and security scan, image signing, artifact validations, all are in compliance with the organization rules. Okay, that we need to make sure. Now our pipeline, we should avoid hard coding any urls, any credentials, any configs, and that's why we use helm for that, because helm is like making it environment friendly. We have values.yaml file where we can set the values of for particular environment, and that there is a segregation, we don't have to hard code anything, and so that our pipeline can run for any environment. We are not making changes in the pipeline and then we are running it, no. So same pipeline, different environment, without zero changes. Now deployment execution can happen using helm, using kubectl. So you should have proper ownership of releases, like whatever the deployment happened earlier in prod. So if there was a helm release already running, if it was running with the ownership of admin, so the next deployment that is going to happen of the helm release, it should also be with the admin, because then it can create a conflict and you won't be able to do the helm upgrade. Okay, so proper ownership of releases is very important. Then the secret and configuration readiness, all the credentials are available, that your environment is able to pull the docker image what we are going to use, or whatever kubernetes secrets that are required to run the pod, that are in place, that we should make sure. Deployment strategy is, there are many kind of deployment strategy, blue, green, or canary, or there are feature flags also. We can enable the feature flag or disable, so that not everything is deployed, whatever is required, whatever is changed, we are deploying that. But mostly the from my experience, we are following rolling update strategy. So pods will restart one by one, so that no downtime for user, and user don't even should even not notice that there is any kind of deployment happening and there is a downtime. If we have to do the rollback, it should be tested beforehand, and it should be fast, and it should be through pipeline, not manually. Then after doing the deployment, just running the CD part, you have done the deployment, your pods are running for some time, but there should be a window to monitor the pods, to monitor the logs, to monitor the alerts and everything, the monitoring, APIs, everything should be in place, and there should be a PI, uh, a post implementation verification or post deployment verification should be implemented. So it can be done through smoke tests or validate critical APIs or check UI and key flows. So this is what is the flow for the prod deployment that we follow. I hope points are clear, and if this question is asked to you, you are able to answer it confidently. So yeah, that's all. So that's all for today's video. I hope it's helpful. Please let me know your views in the comment section. Till then, take care. Bye.